Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And Blizzard has just dropped another major update with regards to Season 2 when it comes to class design, when it comes to PvP pacing that you're going to want to know about. And if you want to make sure that you know about other ones in the future, then make sure to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on an update. But there's a lot to talk about, so let's just get into it right now. Okay, so for the classes, the first major thing for at least PvP is that the diminishing returns category is going to be going up to after 20 seconds. So this basically meant if you got stunned, you would have to wait 16 seconds before you could be stunned again. Now you're gonna have to wait 20 seconds. So you're gonna get 4 extra seconds of not being CC'd by that thing that just CC'd you. This is 2 seconds longer than it was before midnight. It was previously 18, I believe, and they experimented with it being lower at 16. That obviously benefited some specializations more than others. Spammable CC and Subtlety Rogue were the most notable. So this will hurt those classes the most. And they're also doing that major update with the previous update that snares are gonna be significantly reduced. So crowd control as a whole is going down a lot with these changes, and they buffed stamina as well, and they are looking at tailoring down the cooldown power as well. So this is a huge overhaul that should change the way that the game feels almost entirely. It does matter though, the specifics when it comes to the class design with cooldowns in particular, if any one-shots sneak through, and I think it could be very interesting. I'm excited to see it play out. I'm hoping that it is successful. We've never experienced the game in the middle spot instead of it being where it's like very dampening, where nothing's happening versus everyone's getting one shot. We don't really, it's usually one of the two. And the goals here are to get it somewhere in the middle. So I do hope that this is successful. This is a bit of a risk to go a little bit higher, but maybe it's worthwhile to do it. We tried it with 16, didn't feel good. Let's try it with 20. If it ends up feeling good, then great. If it doesn't, then you just go back to 18, right? Now, class design changes here for Blood Death Knights. We're in the process of reworking their set bonuses, and those changes won't be available in this week's build. That said, this is the current iteration. So your 2 set bonus now is when you Death Strike, you'll gain a stack of Blood Debt, increasing strength by 0.5 up to 5%. And when Blood Debt reaches 10 stacks, your next Marrow Rend consumes it, granting 10% strength. That's a lot of strength. Your 4 set bonus, when consuming Blood Debt, your next Marrow End generates 3 additional bone shields and deals shadow damage to your target and nearby enemies. So just cleave, single target, damage reduction, and straight throughput. I think that's a very powerful set bonus right there. Very powerful set bonus. For Demon Hunter, Sigil of Chains no longer replaces Sigil of Misery, and Sigil of Silence now replaces Sigil of Misery when selected. So you have to choose between Silence or Fear. I think that's my understanding of this. I don't have a lot of experience on Vengeance. All I know is it's not been very good in Mythic Plus, so that's probably going to get a lot of attention. Improved Sigil of Misery no longer affects Sigil of Chains. Improved Sigil of Misery now reduces the cooldown of Sigil of Silence by 15 seconds. So if you spec the Silence, you're going to be able to silence more frequently, so more AoE disruption. But you do have to trade it for the Fear. I wonder why you would want the Silence and not the Fear. I guess the Silence should technically be better, but like what instance would you want the Fear then if you're picking between those two? And then Sigil of Chains, though, is also going to get its cooldown reduced from 90 to 60 seconds. For Druid, Shred, and Catform Swipe are getting 10% buff. We love the filler damage getting buffed, at least in PvP. And also in PvE, too, if they're actually committing to this where you do more damage outside of your cooldowns. I think the filler abilities are going to have to be more powerful. For Balance, the counter aura for Orbit Breaker can no longer be manually canceled to reset Orbit Breaker. I'm not actually a big fan of aura cancels either. I think this is fine, but I also think they should consider it for Prez Evoker, holding onto your stasis and being able to aura cancel it at a given moment. I think I don't know. I just think it's a little bit too much. Although it's obviously really good in PvP. You can store it up before you get CC'd, and then cancel it while you're CC'd. Elun's Chosen. This is the build that like they tried buffing it, and its Starfire still just doesn't do any damage. So what are they gonna do now? It should always use Starfire as its builder. So restoring their Starfire single target bonus and reducing their single target damage through a small reduction to Star Surge. So the change to Lunar's Calling bonus to Starfire damage has been reverted. So it's 120% good. Makes Starfire me just like blasting. Good. I like that. Star Cascade no longer triggers off gaining Astral Power with Wrath. And Bask in Moonlight will only increase Star Surge damage by 5%. I really would like Elun's Chosen to distinctly feel different than the way Boomkin is played. And this is one way to do it. Although maybe you just sit there and spam Starfire. Although that could be funny. For Feral Druid, Merciless Claws and Rampant Ferocity have swapped positions. Not sure if that's a big deal or not. If you're a Feral main, let me know. Merciless Claws increases Shred and Swipe damage by 25%. So again, just buffing the fillers again, which is nice. Blood Spattered increases Ferocious Bite damage by 8% up from 2 and maxes out at 6 though from 10. So it doesn't take as long to get to max, but it probably doesn't peak as much. Taste for Blood increases ferocious bite damage by 16% from 12 and another 8% during Tiger's Fury. That kind of makes Tiger's Fury more important. I mean, it already is, but... And then just a 3% damage buff across the board. So Feral is getting some buffs. For Guardian Druid, it's just a bug fix with Wild Guardian not increasing Thrash and Mangle damage. For Marksmanship Hunter, we are moving more of the tier set into the base Explosive Shot. So Explosive Shot is just going to do 15% more. And Explosive Shot is a dot now. And I tested it out. And it seems like it's good in AoE situations, but not so good in single target. So the 2-side bonus is only going to increase his damage by 5%. I think this is important to do. Make the baseline class better and reduce the effectiveness of the set bonus. Otherwise, you're going to have to constantly do that. That just seems tedious. And if you forget to do it or miss it, then you end up with a really imbalanced game. Mage is getting some major changes with their defensive capabilities. So improved Prismatic Barrier is being redesigned. Prismatic Barrier gains an additional charge and further reduces magic damage by 5%. Now in PvP, that's going to have some big issues, right? Because Prismatic Barrier is already really strong into dots. So making it even stronger into dots in PvP, it's going to be rough. But I understand in Mythic Plus that they need the damage reduction to survive. And they're also doing this with Blazing Barrier. However, it will heal you for 15% of the damage it absorbs. It's interesting that these types of mechanics are returning because one of the main goals of Midnight was to reduce the effectiveness of self-healing. So, and I don't know if the self-healing helps you with regards to like how getting one shot and stuff, right? As opposed to just straight damage reduction. I've got my eyes on this because this ability has been so problematic with overpowered barriers of PvP talent. So whenever I see Ice Barrier or anything like this getting buffed, and oh my god, they're buffing Ice Barrier. It's going to get 2 charges and gives you 10% physical damage reduction. This is I think it's very dangerous to let go through in PvP. Arcane, giant essay here about how they like the current Orb build, so I don't think Orb is going to change too dramatically. They're adding a new talent for refractive images, so 10% of the damage you take is now dealt as a dot, and casting mirror images will increase its effect by 30%. Also, if it's a dot, your barrier will probably absorb or reduce it by 5%. They've positioned above Arcane Surge in the talent tree where improved clear casting was previously. Orb Mastery is being redesigned. Casting Arcane Orb fires 2 additional orbs of 50% effectiveness. Expanded Mind has been updated. Casting Arcane Orb grants 1 stack of Arcane Salvo down from 2. Amplification moved below Presence of Mind and Slipstream in the talents. Improved clear casting moved above Arcane Pulse in the talent tree where Amplification was previously located. I've been playing a little bit of Arcane, but even I don't really fully understand or comprehend like the exact result of these changes. It looks, I mean, other than it looks like a bit of a nerf to the Arcane Orb build, even though they said that they like it. So I think, okay, they want to allow, yeah, so it does look like they're nerfing the Arcane Orb and trying to get you to be able to use Arcane Missiles more. I would guess that's the goal with this. For Spell Slinger on the hero talents, Polished Focus has been updated. They've casting Arcane Barrage while at 12 or more Arcane Salvo stacks. Refunds 3 down from 5. So it'll be harder to get to max stacks for Barrage also. So yeah, it's just a lot of nerfs here for the Barrage build, but hopefully not so much that's not viable based on their wording there. Holy Paladins is getting buffed. Eternal Flame, Word of Glory, 15% more healing, 20% more damage overall, 25% additionally on Judgment, 25% on Hammer of Wrath. Avenging Crusader, though, is now only going to transfer 55% of the healing down from 80. So this is a way for them to buff Herald without buffing Weapons of Order, I think. Pillar of Light's Beacon of Virtue healing increased by 50%. Shield of Righteous mana returned by 25%. Oh, you're going to get mana back from Shield of Righteous. I didn't know that. Unworthy debuff now lasts 18 seconds up from 15. So some pretty significant changes to Holy Paladin to check out. For Prop Paladin, Greater Judgment debuff will now last 18 seconds up from 15. Guardian of Ancient Kings has a 0.5 second cooldown. What the heck is it? Has a, why would it, I thought it had 1 charge, at least in PvE. Why is it? Fixing an issue where Seal Reprisal was reducing damage dealt, not reducing damage dealt to the caster. Or damage dealt to the target. What? That's a huge bug. The things you were hitting were taking less damage and not you taking less. Fixing an issue where Sacred Weapon and Holy Bulwark are extending duration by an incorrect amount. Fixing an issue causing Authoritative Rebuke. Was incorrectly reducing a rebuke's cooldown from Avenging Shield cast. What? You just get more interrupts right now? Fixing an issue where Instrument of the Divine was causing Shield of Righteous to extend Sentinel stacks by an incorrect amount. So major bug fixes to Prop Pally. A lot of set bonuses and bug fixes for Paladin. And talent rearrangements. Just major talent rearrangements. For Retribution Paladins, Greater Judgment debuff now lasts 18 seconds up from 15, so it's not going to fall off. And your force set's been updated. Consuming Divine Purpose with Divine Storm causes your next 2 Templar verdicts to unleash Divine Arbiter at their target, dealing holy damage and holy damage within 8 yards. To me, this is kind of graying the line between Divine Storm and Templar verdict, like what's AoE and what's single target, but I guess it also makes it so Divine, it's going to change your rotation, I guess, a bit. Divine Arbiter will benefit from Divine Purpose and Greater Judgment. We want to address the unintuitive rotational priority that the tier set can create under specific situations. For Priest, your set bonus is also being adjusted. Each target affected by a Renew now increases the critical strike chance. Previously, it was Haste by 2% up to 6. That's kind of like a nerf, I think. After reading the feedback, we're updating this tier bonus to increase your crit rather than haste. It's a more desirable stat for Holy. In PvE, the original intent behind increasing haste was to tie it to the periodic nature of Renew, but we understand the desire for that stat is beneficial rotation-wide. For Assassination, Lethality and Cold-Blooded Killer now work correctly with the strikes dealt by Implacable rank 3. For Outlaw, a lot of updates. Hidden Opportunities chance for Ambush to grant opportunity increase to 100% of the chance for Sinister Strike. From 80, so you're just gonna have a 100% chance on this. New connectors have been added in the talent tree between Ruthlessness and Find an Opening, and between Flickering Steel, Choice Note, and Grand Melee. Audacity and Hidden Opportunity are not as strong as other talent options, so we're adding some effects to make them more competitive. Audacity will also buff your Ambush by 60%. That's very significant, I think, as long as Ambush does a lot of damage. Hidden Opportunity also reduces Ambush's energy cost by 5, so you can be an Ambush rogue. Killing Spree shots have a higher chance to target your selected target if they're valid, so less randomness on where Killing Spree is going. For that bonus, chance to activate it increased to 20 from 12, but can no longer activate from Sinister Strike. Additional hits from Opportunity. This change equalizes activation rate between Sinister Strike and Ambush. Before set bonus, free dispatches now properly trigger Scoundrel Strike and Fatebound Coins. There's bug fixes. A little bit of an interesting change here. Possible build changes for Outlaw in the future. For Subtlety Rogue, Gormaw's Bite's been redesigned. Lash out your target and 2 additional nearby enemies. Oh, they're making it AoE. I think it was an AoE before. Inflicting shadow damage and causing them to bleed over 14 seconds. So you're going to get a bleed. 10% of all damage from finishing moves is repeated as shadow, split evenly among affected enemies. So it's like a bleed AoE. That's very different than what Subtlety was playing like before. The first dance now increases shadow dance duration by 4 seconds up from 3. We are continuing to iterate on the changes to Subtlety's resource generation based on feedback, internal testing, including removal of a double generation bug that made the desired intent in combat feel unclear. Base effect rate and energy generation of shadow techniques are being increased to make moments outside of Shadow Dance feel less starved, which is good, while preserving the same proc rate and combo point generation within Shadow Dance. Energy generation should still grow during cooldowns, but not nearly as drastically as before. Continued testing and feedback is welcome. So Shadow's technique base effect frequency has been increased by 40%. Shadow Technique's energy generation has been increased to 5 from 4. And Shadowcraft's tooltip is an updated clarifying intent for Shadow Technique to store an additional combo point during its effect. Shadowcraft no longer causes Shadow Technique to generate additional energy and should no longer duplicate the base energy generation of Shadow Techniques when it stores an additional combo point. So it's just about balancing your damage inside and outside of Shadow Dance. So just continuing in line with their goals for the patch. For Shaman, your 2-set Voltaic Blaze causes your primary target to erupt in a Fire Nova every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. Fire Nova deals 200% increased damage to the primary target of your Voltaic Blaze. It's a change for Enhancement Shamans. It should prevent situations where the tier set bonus was losing effectiveness when fighting small group enemies. That's going to be nice in PvP too, making it more single target as opposed to AoE. For Restoration Shamans, the 4-set's being updated. Condensation value increased by 300%. And they fixed an issue with overflowing shores, not healing units inside of Healing Rain, while the 2-set bonus creates a Healing Rain. So bug fixes. For Hellcaller Locks, Blackened Soul is getting a damage buff, and Wither's getting a damage buffed. So for Destro and Affliction, that's pretty decent. For Affliction, it's generous flow of soul shards currently, so they're changing the set bonus. Agony damage gets increased by 15%, and Corruption gets 25%. That's a lot of dot damage, man. That's a lot of dot damage. Again, I don't know if it's good to put that on a set bonus and not baseline on the class or not, because like that's straight up a lot of damage on the set bonus. For Arms Warrior, Tactical Edge is being redesigned. Colossus Smash immediately grants 1 use of sudden death. We feel like the original design's effect was difficult to feel and eroded the uniqueness of Tactician. We think this design will be much more rotationally impactful and provide some additional interactions for Slayer and Execute focused builds. I like that. So you're just going to immediately be able to get an Execute proc when you see Smash. Ravager's being updated. Enemies damaged by Ravager take 50% increased damage from your bleeds for 12 seconds. So they're really trying to get that 8 Ravager AoE bleed thing going too. This is like a dot patch, it feels like. For Prot Warrior, Revenge has been updated. Your successful dodges, parries, and auto attacks have a chance to make your next Revenge cost no rage. Oh, they're bringing back that mechanic. Oh, they're adding an extra thing onto it. Protection's free revenge counterattack mechanic has existed for a long time, and we love it, but we don't love how wildly infrequent it is, and the impact varying depending on what content you're doing. In dungeons, revenge triggers very frequently, contributing to many buttons being highlighted at once and overwhelming the rotation, but in raids and solo content, it doesn't as much. And Ravager's also getting the bleed buff for prot as well. And they're adding pings to trinkets, health potions, health stones as well. So if you don't have a trinket, you can ping your ally. You don't have a trinket. And they're adding the class sets, relocating them to the Alaquildonis raid entrance. Okay, so I mean, most of this is just falling in line with what their goals are. I think there's going to be increasingly more of these. I'm hoping there are increasingly more of these, because this is a very major undertaking to achieve in the amount of time that I'm expecting is available for them to achieve it in. But overall, I think it's decent. It's taking a lot of risks, but at this point, maybe it's good to take a lot of risks, right? Because the game has felt kind of samey for a while. So reducing a lot of crowd control effects, increasing stamina, reducing effectiveness of cooldowns. My only major concern is that it just ends up being slow and no one's health moves. If no one's health moves at all, that's going to be very bad. It's going to be very bad. That's my only concern at the moment. As long as there's like a pulse on that throughout the testing phase, or even after it goes live, then I think this is the right thing to do at this moment in time. But other than that, that is it for this update. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.